Welcome back, Canonites. While we didn't get everything some of us had hoped for, we did get a Halo 6 teaser at E3 this year, which I figured would be the bare minimum we'd get. Titled Halo Infinite, this game is the sequel to Halo 5 Guardians, as revealed both during the E3 conference and on a new Waypoint post. Quote, "The game will focus on the Master Chief and continue his saga after the events of Halo 5. We also know, based on quotes over the years, that this game will have at least one beta, a promise made after MCC, it'll support split screen, a promise made after Halo 5, it'll support LAN, and it'll release on PC, which could be inferred from the reveal during the E3 stream, though as one might have expected, I certainly did, it'll only be on Windows 10. But this is a trailer breakdown, so enough of that, let's dive in. The first couple of scenes reminded me, and seemingly a few others, a lot of Sierra 117, the first level in Halo 3, though given the rest of the trailer it's likely just a coincidence or meant to throw people off. The next scene shows us some wildlife, specifically a deer-like creature. A long-standing criticism of Halo games is how empty the worlds felt. Bungie made a big point of addressing this in Halo Reach with the Moa and the Guta, and 343 had a lot of ambient life in Halo 5, though it was often on the periphery. It looks like they're planning to step things up with Halo Infinite. Also, as an interesting side note, in Halo Hunters in the Dark, Installation 07 is noted as being home to a deer-like creature. I can't help but wonder if that's what we're seeing here. In the book, the deer-like creature is said to be small, but it's possible that was a child or something. I do think this game is set on Installation 07, but there's more evidence than just this, which we'll get to in a little bit. After that, we see the inside of a cave with some ancient writing on the wall. Now this has been a major point of discussion. What could this be? The Eld pointed out on Twitter that it looks a lot like the Forerunner language seen in Halo Wars and later in Halo 4 among other places. There are definitely some similarities, but nothing directly matches as far as I've been able to tell, so maybe it's a Forerunner dialect. I also had the thought that if this is set on Installation 07, it could be ancient human carvings. Moving on, the next scene has some stone rings in a desert environment, with what I'm guessing is a warthog driving past in the background. We then cut to a scene inside a tent, one which looks like it's seen better days. Morse code can be heard over the radio, which some fans have tried to translate. CIA 391 was able to isolate the Morse code as seen here, and it seems to read SOS Zeta Halo GRD. Now, I have no idea what GRD means, but Zeta Halo doesn't have a lot of room for interpretation. There is only one Zeta Halo, Installation 07. To me, it's pretty strong evidence that this is set on Zeta Halo. Although the radio is receiving, not transmitting, so there's a potential problem there. Still, one could argue that it's just receiving a general SOS being sent from another part of the ring. As far as I'm concerned, Zeta Halo confirmed. And if this is indeed Zeta Halo, there are a lot of potential story beats that we could be looking at, so quick info dump on Installation 07. This ring is unique among the Halos, as it is the last of the original 12-ring array. These were rings produced by the Greater Arc, aka the original Arc, aka not the one in Halo 3, and were 3 times the size of the rings we're familiar with. Towards the end of the Forerunner Flood War, the ring housed thousands of humans as gathered specimens for the conservation measure. It would also later be the location on which Mendicant Bias and the Primordial, a Flood gravemind, would commune for 43 years, where Mendicant Bias would pledge his allegiance to the Flood and, after doing so, would experiment on the human population alongside the Primordial, seemingly trying to find the source of human immunity to the Flood. Now, that's a whole different discussion, but just stick with me for a moment. The ring would ultimately be home to a huge Flood outbreak, housing numerous dormant gravemines. When the ring was eventually recovered by the ISO Didact, a copy of the original Didact being the one we encountered in Halo 4, the ring would be shrunk to 10,000 kilometers, the size of a standard Halo as we know them now. It did this by shedding off damaged sections. The Flood present would be time-locked or put into stasis, and the ring networked into the final array. At some point soon, maybe later this week if news on Halo is light, I'll make a video going into the complete history of this ring, but here's the big takeaway for now. If we are indeed on Installation 07, there are potential connections to the Flood, Mendicant Bias, the Primordial, and the Precursors. Not to say any of these are definitely going to appear, but they could play roles directly or indirectly. Moving on, we can see a massive creature moving by just outside the tent. I have a feeling it's a creature we're going to see in just a minute. The next scene shows some big footprints, then an unknown animal nose, a mountain, then finally some large rhino-like creatures running across a desert plain. I think one of these is what passed by the tent. And jumping back to the mountain scene for a second, we can see a big blue light in the sky, definitely not a natural one. I wonder if this is maybe a Guardian or something else under Cortana's control. After the Rhinos running, we see a close-up of a tree trunk or something, showing just how detailed these models are. What looks like the Rhino creatures are walking past in the background. We cut to another tent full of supplies with some metal structure on the right side, maybe the bay of a Pelican. It's entirely possible given that the very next scene shows the inside of a Pelican cockpit, and it looks to be the D77TC variant, aka the version seen in the Bungie games. On the left side can be seen a poster saying "Fight for Her." This UNSC recruitment poster was notably seen in Halo CE, and a version sort of appears in the MCC version of ODST. However, the most interesting bit in the scene is deeper in the Pelican's cockpit, a display screen near the controls. As pointed out by Masters1337, the lead behind SPV3, there seems to be a date on the screen which, near as anyone can tell, says May 27th, 2560. So it seems that Halo Infinite might jump forward a year and a half after Halo 5 to get us deeper into a created controlled galaxy and possibly to put the UNSCs back against the wall again. Also, thank you to Brendan Lowry and Harspix of Hell for the image. The next scene shows something exploring the waters of this ring, making me wonder if we might actually get a water level of some kind. It almost looks like whatever machine is exploring down there is recovering the chassis of a Warthog, but don't quote me on that, it's hard to tell what we're looking at. Now we approach the end of the trailer. Shadows cast across a beach, and we see the bottom halves of UNSC Marines, one dropping a smoke canister. These Marines have much more camo than previous 343 Marines, akin to something Halo 2 or Halo 3. They're walking through a field full of more of these stone rings, one of them injured. Maybe they're trying to find other UNSC forces after a fight. And yeah, they look a lot more like what people generally expect from UNSC Marines. 343 hasn't completely abandoned their own designs, but what we see here seem very Reach inspired. Interestingly though, they are carrying BR-85, so newer designs aren't completely abandoned, something actually stated in the Waypoint blog post. As the camera cuts to a wider shot showing the vast landscape full of wildlife and mountains, the camera pulls back, revealing a very familiar helmet, and the Halo 3 Finish the Fight track starts. Now I know a lot of fans are going to be pretty happy about the return to the old, but personally I'm kinda not. I honestly really loved the Halo 4 and 5 armor Chief had. It made him look like a walking tank, which is what I expect from Spartans. I just hope that this time around we get an explanation for the change. Maybe his Gen 2 suit was too heavily damaged in the time since the created uprising started, and due to the UNSC not having enough supplies to repair it or something, Chief had to revert to an older Mark 6 configuration, or to a Gen 2 suit that happened to look more like the classic Mark 6. Whatever the case ends up being, please 343 just explain it in-game this time. Anyway, we cut to a wide shot, a Warthog driving across the Halo ring with those familiar beam emitters firing into the air in the background. Two things of note here. The Warthog has no gun, and the beam emitters seem to have a more 343 era design. Installation 07 is the last of the older arrays, so having distinct architecture would make sense. As the camera pans up, we see the familiar Halo horizon and the title Halo Infinite appears. Through all of this, it really seems like Halo Infinite is going for an open world approach of some kind. I don't know about true open world, I kinda hope it isn't, but maybe something that allows more exploration than previous Halo games have, more akin to what Halo CE and 2 are remembered for. We'll have to see, but if nothing else, the environments look amazing. And speaking of, as that camera pans up, we can see some Forerunner symbols across the face of the ring, very reminiscent of some line work that could be seen in the skies over the Ark and could also be seen on Requiem as it appeared in Halo 3. The final scene shows the Chief plugging an AI chip into his helmet, and I have to say, this above all else left me confused. Who is the Chief plugging in? It can't be Cortana since she's currently conquering the galaxy. Maybe he got a new AI? Maybe they made a new Cortana from another clone of Halsey's brain. Either would actually play really well with this line from Halo 4.
They'll pair you with another AI. Maybe even another Cortana model if Halsey lets them.
That's not going to happen.
It won't be me. You know that, right?
I should also note that this circular plug area is more Halo 4 and 5 than classic Halo. It's a design feature specifically introduced in Halo 4, so this classic looking Mark 6 isn't really an old suit of Mark 6, but either a newly built suit that was made to look like baseline Mark 6 or a Mark 6 baseline suit upgraded to work with Gen 2. And so, that's a complete breakdown of everything in this Halo Infinite trailer, at least that I could spot. Ultimately, it's a tech demo to show off the power of the new Slipspace engine, which in terms of graphical capability is amazing. We'll have to see if the final game looks as good when you're fighting a dozen enemies or more and a ton of other shit is happening in the environment, but overall on this particular front I'm excited. Story-wise, I'm excited to drop onto Installation 07. It has some deep connections to Halo's lore, and I'm eager to see where 343 might take the story in this regard. That said, I worry about what might happen to Fireteam Osiris and Blue Team especially. Osiris I would generally be okay with being pushed to the side, but I really worry about the fate of Blue Team after their poor reception in Halo 5. I want 343 to give it another go, to really do them justice in a game. I really hope they aren't relegated to side characters. I'd also be remiss if I didn't bring up Installation 09 from the end of Halo Wars 2. I'm confident it will still play a role, but it'd be interesting to see what role that might be if Cortana controls that ring while what's left of the UNSC is on Installation 07. Of course, it's entirely possible that the ring in this teaser is Installation 09 rather than 07, but I think the evidence for 07 is pretty strong. Whatever the case ends up being, I'm excited to truly explore a Halo ring, as that seems to be what 343 is going for. And I think that covers just about everything. What do you think of the trailer for Halo Infinite? Are you excited, worried, somewhere in between? Let me know in the comments below. And what do you think of the title? Infinite has a lot of possibilities, to say the least. Thanks for watching as always, and until next time, this has been Halo Canon. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing, and if you really love me, hit that notification bell and leave a thumbs up. These both really help out the channel. I wouldn't be where I am now without your views and support, so once again, thank you. Keep on being awesome, Canonites.